every Christmas I would ask for they would sell like a replica of the UFC championship belt on the UFC store. And every Christmas I would ask, Mom, please get me a replica of the championship belt. And it was expensive. It was like $700, something like that, $1,000. And I never got it, but I wanted to like picture myself with the belt. I would always like be in my room playing, and I would be like visualizing me winning like the UFC belt as a small child, So I always wanted that. And, now I think of it as like, she didn't get me it because I'm going to win my own. And for me, that shit stuck with me. Like, I wanted that every single Christmas. I asked for the same thing and never got it. But yes, she probably forgot about it. But you know what? I'm going to bring that up to her today and be like, Mom, the belt that I always ask for and didn't get every Christmas, I won my own. And eventually it is going to be that UFC one that I wanted so badly.
What is up, everybody? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafa Sparstar, coming to you with another great installment of the Grappling Hour. We have a great guest here today, but before we get to him, a couple quick reminders. One, if you like the show, and I hope that you do, it'd be great if you go on over to patreon.com/grappling hour. If you go there, you can see these interviews 30 days before anybody else. Now, you can pay that for $5, see it 30 days. That's a nice way to support the show. But if you want to pay a few extra dollars more, you can see our extra bonus content. What is our extra bonus content? You can see tape studies with athletes, not going to mention who we're doing one with, maybe this guy. Also, you can check out a segment called Roast Raf, where people roast my competition footage. And believe me, just did a competition where we went up against a local MMA fighter in Jiu-Jitsu. Not fun. Don't recommend it. You definitely don't want to get highlighted on a highlight reel, but I think we're looking to do an interview with him so you guys can get some entertainment out of that. And we are about to do a series where we actually do profiles on the ADCC athletes. So yes, there's about 100 of them that end up going to the ADCC Worlds. For our premium users, we're actually going to do a chart and a little series where we investigate and do deep studies on them. I think we might call the segment References because it's so annoying you can't forget it. So patreon.com/grappling hour. If you like this shirt, look at this. Look at this merch. Grappling Hour t-shirt. You can go on over to rafasparza.com/merch. And we are running low on supplies. So get in quickly because, look, guys, I'm not like your favorite clothing manufacturers. I don't got loads of this sort of stuff. So when we put in these orders, we got to put them in smart. And I'm telling you, I think we might be doing something for the spring, maybe some tank tops. We'll see what we're doing. But rafasparza.com/merch. Get yours right now and look like a lot of champions do. Just saying. Last couple of reminders, like, comment, and subscribe on this video. We appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a like, give us a comment. And if you don't know what you want to comment on, by the end of this video, we will give you a prompt based on the discussion that we had here. And speaking of discussions, if you like the discussions we have here and want to continue them, you can head on over to our Discord. We're at Grappling Hour on the Discord. I'll give you an invite. You seem like nice people. All right, let's get to our guest. I had the pleasure of actually commentating this young man's incredible fight. It was a great performance, a championship performance, and I've had the honor of photographing him at a number of different events. He's young, sure, but he definitely acts like a very mature fighter. Every time I've seen him, I've seen growth, and I thought in his last particular fight, there was composure, there was excellent accuracy on all of his strikes, and he's been somebody in the community that I've had eyes on, and I've definitely wanted to come and bring on this show for you guys to get to know a little bit better. But ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show for the very first time, CHRISTIAN DIGHERO.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for that introduction. Thank you.
I just speak the truth, sir. All I'm doing here is telling you I've had the pleasure of witnessing you from afar, whether it's from photographing your fights or from attending your fights. But I've always been very appreciative of watching your growth and your journey. Yeah. So you definitely had a very good performance. What did it feel like at Sparstar when it was all done? What is a celebration to you, sir?
Yeah, so, just as fighters, we tend to eat a lot after our fights. So immediately just eating a lot, enjoying some foods that I've been craving over the past few months. This is a very long training camp. I haven't fought since August of 2023. So just healing up from some injuries, and then kind of just maybe not finding the right opponents or things just not falling into place. I kind of missed a few of the cards they had since August. So but I've been training. I took a little bit of a break, but I've been training, putting in the work, and just a long camp. So as far as like food, I've been going crazy the last 2 weeks since the fight. And but besides that, celebration, nothing too crazy, just hanging out with family and eating a lot.
All right. This is where I'm probably the best coach of all.
Yeah.
What kind of foods are we talking here? Like what are we putting away? Because here's the thing. We're not going to tell USADA what weight you are right now. We're not going to tell the commission what weight you're at right now. That's why we're wearing hoodies here, fam. We want to make sure that everybody knows, because I'm like, this dude fights a little bit smaller than what he looks like right now. But what are we talking about when we get to food?
Yeah, so pretty much everything in sight. But for the most part, I have a huge sweet tooth. So like cookies, brownies, pancakes. Yeah, a little bit too much. I need to start calming down a little bit because, I'm getting to the point where it's like, man, like looking in the mirror, I'm like, this is a completely different person. Like, man, I'm disgusted. So I'm gonna start eating some salads here again, but a lot of sweets for sure. A lot of sweets.
I have to tell you this because I feel like this is my truth, not your truth necessarily. Yeah. I feel like if you put a championship belt on me, I might be eating for a month. Yeah. Like if I do the math out for how I like to eat, I'm like, I don't know, man. You might not see the regular size version of me for a minute. So I get it. It's just, you're not bad. I mean, we're only about a week plus removed from the fight. Mm-hmm. So sure, maybe 2 weeks in, whatever it is that it's been. I just like the idea that for you should be enjoying it. Gun to head. Right now, I give you the option to eat one thing. What is the one thing you're going to ask for?
The answer might have changed if you asked me before the fight, but since I've kind of had everything that I've wanted since the fight, I think right now just a nice big steak, maybe like a baked potato, and then a dessert after, like maybe like a bazooki or something. If you could all combine that into one little sitting, that's probably what I would go with right now.
So, all right, how do you get your steak done?
I like it bloody. So probably a good medium rare. Good medium rare. Yeah.
I actually, so my wife gets them well, and
oh my God.
Yeah, it's bad, man. I'm not going to say it's almost gotten us divorced, but I'm just saying like it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And even more so, we had an anniversary that we just had, and we go out to dinner and we both get steaks. And this dude looks at me and he's like, sir, may I ask how you would like your steak? I go, medium rare. And he goes,
yeah.
I knew we would get along. And then I look at him, I was like, don't ask her. And meanwhile, she just ended up getting a pasta, which by the way was very good. But I just looked at her and I'm like, babe, you can't don't, because she started wanting to talk to him. And I was like, don't talk to him about steak.
Yeah.
You are not allowed to. If you get yours well, it embarrasses me and it embarrasses the human beings who make it. 100%. I will never inconvenience them. So this is good to know. This is good. So what it tells me is that you aren't just going for regular carbs. You're going for like a nice, good meal, something quality. That makes exactly
good quality.
And to be fair, if you're having a good steak, it's still good protein. So you're not like completely out of left field on that. I have some important questions to ask here. So I've seen you have different looks before.
Yeah.
In this particular look, you definitely buzzed off the hair, and you said it was a different persona, if you would, or a different kind of vibe that you were going into the fight with.
Yeah.
But it definitely made me go like, I don't think I've seen him buzzed hair like this. So was that part of the transformation into fight week, or when did that kind of come together?
Yeah. So I've been wanting to buzz my head for a while, but I've always been maybe not scared, but hesitant, because I'm like, man, it's such a big commitment. I like having when my hair's long, I like, getting a haircut, looking nice. And for some reason, fight week, just something was like, I was just like, fuck it. I was like, I had, it was almost like a transformation into like war mode. I know it sounds like a little cheesy, but something about it just felt right. And I looked in the mirror after and I'm like, yeah, I liked it, and I wasn't too. I was so hesitant to do it before, and I used to buzz my head all the time as a kid. But as of like recently, I've been wanting to, like I said, and I was scared. So something came over me fight week, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it, and it came out good. I think I'm gonna stick to it for a while. I've gotten good reviews, and I've just instinct, I guess, or impulse kind of led me to it.
May I give you my notes from the side?
Yeah.
Okay, like I said, I've seen you from afar. You always come off as super nice outside of the cage.
Yeah.
Inside of the cage, you do have a different sort of vibe, which you're supposed to, and that's fine. I thought the buzz cut was like a different level up because I saw what you look like with the buzz cut, but then I saw the glasses and the championship belt, and I was like, yo, this is a good persona for him. Like, this is like your version of The Rock being a heel kind of thing where I go, yeah, this kind of fits. Like, this is the champ look that you should be going with, sir. So I definitely thought, I was like, yeah, the shades, tight, buzzed hair, championship. And then, you add on to the fact that on that one in particular, I saw you with crutches later on, and I just go like, I don't even care, dude. Like, this dude's got a whole new different life that he could lead as this champ right now if he so chooses to be that guy.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I was saying it leading up to the fight, but I feel like this was like the second version of me. Like I've kind of like almost a little bit turning the corner into becoming a man. I started fighting amateur when I was 18, like 17 even. So like I was a kid, and I feel like I'm starting to turn the corner into becoming a man. And I think this training camp was like the hardest and also the smartest I've ever worked, like as far as recovery, just like training overall. Like if I need to take a rest day instead of just being kind of that hard head saying like I need to push through every session and just being overly sore. And I've been trying to maximize everything as far as training, recovery, sleep, diet. So I feel like that kind of also led into the haircut. Is just like, it's like a new me, like shedding my skin like a snake a little bit, so
It did make me laugh because maybe it's something I mentioned in an interview, but I always like to let the guest or the athlete kind of lead me to where I'm going to ask my questions. And when I saw you put up that persona thing, I go, oh, okay, so this is a real thing that you were experiencing, that you were going through, not just that I observed and thought like, oh, this is what he's going through. I saw you put that out there, and I go, man, that's so cool that even something as simple as a haircut week of going into a big fight is going to get you dialed in. And I thought that was just a really cool vibe that you brought into the fight. Now, speaking of the fight, we talked a little bit off air about this, but I did tell you, it was like full disclosure, Leno is a friend, and you are a friend via a lot of our mutual friends.
Yeah.
And especially where you trade over at Black House. I know a lot of those guys, great people, excellent vibes whenever I've gone to go to train there. When they announced your fight, I was beyond stoked. I just knew, I was like, we're in for something very good. I know what a killer Leno is. He's got power. The kid's got really, really good power to him and a good drive. But having watched your fights over the years, there was a part of me that just said like, okay, now I just want to see the fight. Then I had the honor of commentating the fight, and I go, oh my goodness. So I don't know if you could tell, but we were excited on the microphone when we were watching the fight.
Yeah, 100%. I've watched the fight maybe 500 times since then. So I could tell your guys' excitement, and that's like, that gets me excited because I want to be the star of the show every time. I want to be the guy who you look at the card and you're like, holy shit, Christian's fighting, like, fuck, okay, we're in for a good fight, or we're in for an ass whooping, So I want to be the guy who, like, when you look at the card, you're like, okay, hell yeah, like I'm tuning in, So that I appreciate you being excited, and hopefully just, my performances make people excited for my fights in the future,
They should. And I mean, it's very funny when I tell people, I'm like, we approach it as photographers or commentators or anybody who helps on the supporting staff as we do get to see you guys on the come up first.
Yeah.
So there's a certain excitement when you go like, this kid's got something, he's really good. And then the equal feeling that we have for your opponents when you go, oh, this kid's on the come up too.
Yeah.
Oh, this is actually a really phenomenal match. So I I don't know, man. I think, you're at the gym that I was coming to train at and had open mat before I went to go commentate it. And I did a little video and I just remember being like, yo, you could talk to me about a number of those fights. I'm excited about it. But I was like, ooh, I just can't wait for this. I don't know what's going to happen. So tell me a little bit from your end. You said it was a long training camp, but when did you know that this was going to be the fight that you were going into?
So I want to say sometime around January, like mid to late January, I found out that Eleno was going to be the opponent. And I was excited because I've had my eyes on him for a little bit. He fought Quest, so we have a common opponent in each other. And we fought, I think his last fight was actually on the same card as my last fight. So we both hadn't fought in a little bit. And, you always kind of keep your eyes on guys who are climbing up in the same division. So I had my eyes on him, and Heather came to me with him, and I was like, this is a perfect matchup. I think that he hasn't shown a lot of like great striking, but I know that his grappling was good, and I know that he hits hard because he opened up Quest right away in his fight. I think maybe with maybe the first punch he landed. So I knew he was going to be a tough test, and I also knew that I was going to be a tough test for him. I was a little bit of a step up in competition for him. And I'm like, I've had my opportunity against guys who had a little bit more experience than me. So I was like, I'm happy to give him a chance to step up and see if he's ready to compete with the better people in the division. And I think it came into fruition around January, and then preparation all throughout since then. Yeah, I was very excited about this matchup. I feel like it was a perfect matchup to showcase a lot of the things that maybe I haven't been able to showcase in past fights.
So one thing that I was calling for in that fight, but I knew the complication would be harder in execution, was for Eleno. I was like, damn, dude, the fact that he didn't pull off more on the grappling side to me was a little bit of a surprise, because I think especially in that first round, you were commanding respect with your strikes. And then I was like, as a coach, I was wondering, he's got Lucas Leite over on his side. And you think, like, is that grappling side going to get there? The one X factor that I did know, and I think I said this on air, which was I was like, the hard part about that is I am familiar with your grappling work and I know who you work with. So I just knew, I was like, you were making it so that in the areas of fighting, you were narrowing his path to a win.
Yeah.
And that even if he wanted to shoot on the grappling side, you were happy to do that. But I knew, I was like, yo, you're still going to be in such good shape given the training camp and the people you worked with.
Yeah.
But it was where you start to, as an observer, realize how much further you're pulling ahead. And one thing that I want to go back to is just the composure that you had. Like, you look so composed and so at ease throughout this fight. When that fight's going on, how are you able to look that composed? Like, what is going through your head that makes you look that way? Because to us, we know you're what, 21, 22?
Yeah, 22.
Okay. You fight like a much more mature fighter. And I think you really showed it this last fight. So what's going through your head when the actual fight is going on like that?
Yeah, so I'd say I pride myself on being able to be calm in the big moments. And that all comes from preparation. Like, I think that I probably work the hardest and smartest out of anyone, especially as an amateur, but even pros. I think that, like, it all just comes from preparation, like I said. So, and I've been doing this forever. Like, I've been competing and training forever. So sometimes when I haven't fought for a while, maybe the thing about like ring rust kind of creeps into your head a little bit, but I get in there and it's like, no, it's not really, I don't really think it's a thing. So, I just think it comes from experience, and that's why I really want to stay active this year, is because I've experienced a little bit of, okay, maybe I don't have a fight coming up, so I have like a little bit time to rest, and maybe my mindset gets a little bit off track. But once I'm like on track and focused and have a goal to work towards, I'm dialed in, and I think that no one does it better than me, honestly. So yeah, I think just experience and preparation is where that composure and calmness comes from. And yeah, it's one of the things I feel like I was blessed with, maybe a little bit naturally, is just being able to be calm in there. And yeah, I'd say for sure that's where my composure comes from.
It is something that I think needs to be acknowledged, because as I was watching you, most people in those areas, maybe they get cracked or they get like a moment where something doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the facade start to have like those little bit of those cracks, if you would, or they get those moments where you kind of see a peek into the uncertainty or the anxiety that a fighter has. Nope. 15 minutes, you look cool, calm. I was just looking at you the entire time and thinking like, no, you're in a good zone. Like whatever that zone is something that I would love to be able to teach even my students, or even whenever those of us who do compete kind of look at it and are like, man, that's kind of the place I want to be. Yeah. So have you looked at anybody in sports? Like, have you modeled your kind of approach or your thoughts on anybody in sports that you've been like, yo, I like where that guy's at, like mentally wise, or try to steal stuff like that?
Yeah, a lot of people actually. I try to stay naturally just like in the sport of MMA itself, because, obviously I compete in MMA, but even guys like Kobe Bryant, some like Michael Jordan. I recently watched The Last Dance for the first time, which is cool. But a lot of guys, like recently I've been listening to a lot of Sean O'Malley, and behind all of the flash and, colorful hair and shit, he's actually a very smart guy. He preaches a lot of like meditation, a lot of reading, just like healthy lifestyle and good eating. And he's actually a very smart person. So I've been watching a lot of him and his coach's podcast, and I've taken a lot of things from them, like breathing exercises, cold plunge, just like recovery. Like I've been telling you about, sleep is important. I got this Oura ring right here because of them.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah. So I got the Oura ring because of them. And it's been a game changer. It's like, I know, like, fuck, like I shouldn't have gone to sleep at 11 o'clock last night because it says my readiness score is messed up. And now I'm like, fuck, okay, I didn't get enough good sleep. So now I'm like, I go to sleep at 8:39 every night and I wake up at like 5:36. So I'm on a very strict like sleep regimen as well, not just training regimen. I'm strict with my sleep. I'm strict with my diet now. So a lot of guys like that, and even just like John Jones, everyone who's at the top of the sport, I like to study greatness. So anyone who's at the top of the sport, I like to watch a lot of fights. I watch every Friday is our sparring day at Black House. I go in there and I treat it like it's a fight. I treat it like it's fight day. So I get there an hour and a half early. I breathe, I meditate, I listen to music, and I'll watch a fight of someone who I'm like, okay, so my game plan for Eleno is to do this certain thing. I'm going to watch guys like Sean O'Malley, Israel Adesanya, and John Jones. I watch their fights before sparring, and then I get a good warm-up, and then I do some pads, and I spar, and then I do my rounds in the cage as if like I'm fighting, like I said. So I got that from them too. So I just like studying people who have achieved the highest levels in the sport that I'm also competing in. So yeah.
Okay, I'm glad that you bring up those different things, because when I look at Sean O'Malley, the part I reject is the nonsense.
Yeah.
The part I'm like, this is so dumb. But he's put respect on his name by his performances. And I think it's easy to get caught up in the idea of like, oh no, he's a very, very high level individual in terms of MMA. He just hangs out with the low level on the dumb stuff that he does, or the eccentricities. Because I don't know, I've gotten into this era now where I see people and I go, every one of the champs has to be cringe in the UFC.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is so that they can set up their own brands to exist and make money outside of that. Yeah. So I think it's hard sometimes to balance those two things, because like sometimes I'll see them say something and I go, that's dumb, but you're still a good fighter.
Yeah.
Having said that, I'm glad you brought this up. How do I put this? I don't get jealous of these things, but like we don't know each other. We're just starting to get to know each other now. But when I saw you put on your fight shorts, Mortal Kombat, and I was like, whoa, these guys, you're repping these guys. How did that come together? Because didn't they shout you out as well?
Yeah.
And where did that all come from?
So it stemmed from just being a massive fan of the show. Like, so I live in Newbury Park or Thousand Oaks, and I train at Black House MMA, which is in Gardena. So I have to drive an hour and a half. You know, if I'm lucky, I'll get like there in an hour 15. Sometimes it's 2 hours. So I got tired of listening to the same music over again. So I'm all on the podcast on the way to gym. And so every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Morning Combat, I listen to their podcast on the way to gym and sometimes on the way home too if I didn't have enough time to finish it on the way there. And so it just stemmed from being a big fan. And they do a segment called Fan Subs where fans submit, like artwork or just like memes and they'll review it and like laugh at it, make funny jokes. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put their logo on the front of my shorts and just to rep them, because I love the show and that they're hilarious. And I ended up winning. I ended up winning that fight in the first round. And I got a picture, and I sent it over to them and they put it on the show. And I was like, holy shit, this is like so fucking cool. Like, and then all of their fans, they call them donks, which is, a funny name for their fans. And all of the donks started following me, got a little fan base from them. They sent over to me. So it's been cool, just to get a little recognition from guys who you listen to like on a daily basis. And so it just all stemmed from being a huge fan of them.
I just want to point this out. They haven't brought you on the show yet. It's all good. Some of us have. Here's what I put together. I gathered, which was, I was like, this is a smart idea. You put their logo on your shorts. Great job. But this is how weird I get about this stuff where I was like, why has he supported them? How do I need to get him to be Grappling Hour, Verbal Tap? That's what I need to do here. All right, fair enough. Because I just like the idea that I was like, I also can't ask that of guests who haven't come on the show. So it was like, I have an absurd moment where that's how competitive I get, where I tell people, I'm like, I'm not competitive with jiu-jitsu or fighting or anything like that. Like, I'm a good coach in that area.
Yeah.
When it comes to podcast stuff, I'm like, why are you repping them?
Yeah.
Why you like
now
them?
that you've had me on the show, they haven't had me on the show. I'm switching over to the Grappling Hour.
Take that, Luke.
Yeah.
Fam. Got you. See, you know what? I find the talent. Then you guys talk about the talent. It's all good.
Yep.
You're so at the game. It's all right. Luke, I have massive respect for you. That's all right. That's neither here nor there. I have a friend who actually works on that show, so I'm pretty sure he may have been one of the people who was helping to put that on there.
Yeah.
But I just love this. The reason why I was so happy that I saw you on there and that you got the acknowledgement is, one, smart idea for marketing. Number two, we just get stoked when we see local talent get props.
Yeah.
So I don't care where it comes from. I don't care who's doing it. But when I see our guys get that extra little shine, it's just an opportunity for them to have eyes on you and the great stuff you're doing. So when you said that you picked up a good number of those dunks, like I was like, yo, you should be, because I think we all as fight fans, we root for those to get those highlight finishes. We root for those that we are early in on, that we say like, yo, I remember this fight with this guy. I was there. I saw this. So to me, I was like, yeah, it's just an extension for you to get some more shine on that. Having said that, I did realize that after the fight and commentating on it, this is how you know I'm a pro. I didn't mention it once on the microphone. Like I saw the shorts and I was like, don't do it. Don't do it. This is not the venue to do it on air like this.
Yeah.
But I definitely was like, I had a moment in my brain that was like, Raph, I know it's a funny joke. Not worth it while this dude's fighting.
Yeah.
So it did cross my mind. I want to go back to what you were talking about in terms of, it seems like your ability to visualize has really, really been dialed in. Mm-hmm. Most people, when they visualize, let's say they go to sparring, they put themselves in the fight in the context of a 15-minute thing. Yeah. The fact that you've extended that and said, no. It starts on my drive. Yeah. It starts when I get there an hour and a half ready, just like I would if I was going to fight. Yeah. I think that is paying off in dividends, because now that I can put that together with the way that we see you when we first see you, is like, some people might imagine it happens when you walk out from the warm-up area, but it's already been 2 hours after that. Like that, it's really starting to show through. Yeah. So that's a very cool thing to pick up on. So yeah, good on you, man.
My training doesn't only pertain to the training room. Like I'm training on my drive home. I'm training on my drive there. I'm training when I'm at home chilling. Like I'm always visualizing. I do a lot of like visualizing as well, just like sitting down, closing my eyes. I like to go out in the mountains, just like find a rock to sit on. And I like to visualize not only the fight, I like to visualize the weigh-ins, I like to visualize even my drive to weigh-ins. I like to visualize how I'm going to be in the back warming up, what the walkout's going to look like, what I'm going to look like as I'm getting introduced, what I'm going to look like when I'm getting my hand raised, the interview after. I visualize everything. So everything I've seen 100 times, the best and worst case scenario, I've seen it a million times. So maybe that also pertains to why I'm so composed in there and why I'm calm in there, because I've seen it a million times in my head. Like sometimes I'll be eating with my girlfriend or something, and she's like, "Are you okay? Like you're so quiet." I'm like, "Sorry, I'm just thinking. I'm thinking about the fight. I'm thinking about the walkout right now." So it's always on my mind. My mind never shuts off when it comes to fighting and training.
May I give you a line?
Yeah.
As somebody who's been married for a minute, they hit you with that, be like, "Oh, I was just thinking about how much I love you." Like, let them have that moment, because it may not happen now, but there may be a time when you're like, "Well, how come you're not visualizing me?"
Yeah.
Like wife 101, when you least expect something, it just comes out for no reason. Well, she'll be like, you'll tell her like, "Oh, I'm going to go do this." Yeah. "And what about me?" And you'll be like, "What? This has nothing to do with you."
Yeah.
So just little background.
I'll stash that in the.
It's gonna come in handy one day, I promise you. Especially if you're visualizing so hard, and she's like, "What are you thinking about?" And it'd be like, "Oh, just winning, being a baller at MMA." And she'll be like, "Cool. Why aren't you thinking about me? Why aren't you present here? Why can't you be here?" And you'll be like, "Oh, fuck, I fucked up." So it's happened to a lot.
If you're watching this, that was actually my idea, and I gave it to him.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's very good. And if you're my wife watching this, you're not. Let's just be real. I just like the idea, though, that being able to share that is very cool. What is it like, though? Because you mentioned you have this girlfriend. You're obviously doing a lot of work for this. How has it been for her watching you? Like, is it hard for her to watch fights with you? Does she just come in and know, like, this is the game? Like, it's all good? Was she, like, reacting that week like?
Yeah, so she obviously gets nervous, just like anyone who has a significant other fighting someone in the cage. So she gets nervous, but she's been with me for 3 fights now. So she's kind of gotten a little bit used to it and seen the process and everything. So she's enjoying it now. She brings her family out. Her mom and her brother come, and her uncle watch with her. So she has a good time. I think that she's starting to show up a little later now because, there's a lot of fights. So she comes a little before she got there, like right as soon as the door opened. And now she's like, I'm going to go a little bit later because some of the early fights, drags on a little bit. But so she enjoys it, and she's a huge supporter. She loves just watching, the transformation from like normal person to like fighter, so it's good for her. She supports me, and like I couldn't have asked for a better partner as far as like how I would want someone to be by my side along the journey. So
that's what's up.
Yeah, and it's actually, there was a funny moment once when I was fighting Quest that towards the end of the first round, I think I like had his back on the cage, and we were kind of just like almost like not stalling, but like I just had his back on the cage, and I looked up and I saw her, and I blew her a kiss, and I like smiled, and I saw her smile, and it was funny because it was just like that little moment seemed like it lasted like a lifetime. And it's funny when you're in the cage, like you don't expect to do something like that, and then right back to like fighting. But yeah, that was a cool moment. That was her first fight with me, so I think that kind of like eased her nerves a little bit, just like to know that, oh yeah, like I'm still me,
It's so funny. I do remember that moment. I have vivid, because here's the reason why. It pulled me out of your normal antics.
Yeah.
Because as good as you are, I don't think you're overtly flashy. And what I mean by that is that you're more within the realm of like, there's an audience, you're playing a little bit into that, but you're so dialed in, you're like, I don't even care if they're here, kind of a thing. And that was one of the first times that I go, look at this little showman over here. Oh my God. And then right back to business. So it was like a little mini peek of you showing off a different side. I want to tell you this, because you're mentioning that. I literally just got a little buzz here because I have a whoop. So the whoop strap, same sort of difference.
Yeah.
I'm at 100%, baby.
No way.
100% sleep, 100% recovery. That never happens.
That's crazy.
So like literally, that's how I knew. I was like, I'm prepped for this interview. Because you know what? 100% never happens. And I'm used to like 94s, 90s.
Yeah.
I went to sleep so early last night because I was like, I'm going to make sure we're here. I'm going to make sure we get this done. So from that, what is the best intel that you have gotten from one of those rings?
So I'm a nerd when it comes to this now. Like I've fallen in love with just like my sleep score and my readiness and my activity. And I think just like there's no better feeling than waking up and you're like, okay, I went to sleep at the exact time I was supposed to last night. I woke up at the exact time I was supposed to this morning. And I'm like, I cannot wait to check my score. And when you see like high 90s in both, there's no feeling. It's like the best high. It's like the best drug you could have. So I think just like waking up and seeing a perfect score in the morning is like, it's like a drug, you know. It's like I'm addicted to it. So I love Aura Ring. Shout out Aura Ring if you want to sponsor me one day, you know, hook it up. But I'm more than happy to buy your products for now until I'm in the UFC.
No. Yeah. Yo, sponsor me. I'm really good. Check my highlights.
Exactly.
That's what you need to do. Yeah, because I looked at this, and this is how I knew. I was like, when you started talking about your numbers in that way, I was like, oh, I'm the same way, dude. Like, this is how nerd out I get on this stuff, is that I looked at mine. So I was super stoked. I was like 100%, right?
Yeah.
Proud of myself. Guess what? Not that long. Got real angry. You know how I got angry? Look at this. Look at this deep sleep. Only 23 minutes. So this light sleep was almost 6 hours worth, but that light sleep was 23 minutes. Wow. I have napped harder deep sleeps than that. So like here I was being like, oh, I'm so good. And then I saw that and I was like, what do you mean we only got 23 minutes of deep sleep, fam? Yeah. What is that? That's nothing.
Numbers don't lie, man.
So I was just like, that's how I knew when I heard you speaking about it. I go, oh, he's the same way I am about this shit. Because I'm such a numbers stats nerd that when I see that stuff, I'm like, it'll ruin your day if you have the worst score, where I'm like, I think I really do embody that. I'm in competition with myself. Yeah. So that like 2 days ago, I was like, oh, I got a 9.6 in that jiu-jitsu. Yeah. We can get that number up, fam. Like that was an easy day. That was just one session. We need to get 2 sessions in a day now. So that is pretty good. So that's what I think. You need to harp it on that. So that way when you make that sell over to the big boys over there and you look at them and you're like, yo, I just want to let you guys know, I'm on my way up. I've already been seeing a Mortal Kombat. Yeah. Why wouldn't you want to sponsor me? Because it's just going to keep going up higher than that.
Gotta get me on the come up. The price is low right now. The price is going to be higher. So get it when the price is low. Invest early. Yeah.
I tell people that all the time. I'm like, yo, you want to come on this grappling hour now? Grappling hour prices now are going to be different than grappling hour prices in a year, fam. So just saying, it's affordable now. Get in while it's good. I'd love to ask this. Okay. When did you know you were pulling away with that fight? Because we're going to have a moment where we watch the fight in a separate segment. Yeah. But to me, there was a moment where I thought I was like, I think he knows he's got this fight. Yeah. But to you, I don't know if that's the same moment. When did you feel like that fight was yours?
Honestly, before the fight even started, I feel like I just, like, no disrespect, but I feel like I'm so much more skilled as a mixed martial artist. And you know, like we've playing a sport where you could be, it's not like basketball where you could be up by 40 and you could still lose with a minute left, you know? Yeah. We play in a sport where I could be up on the scorecards 10-8 each round and still lose by, you know, some lucky punch. But I feel skill for skill, I am a much better fighter. And that's no disrespect. It's just, that's who I am, you know? So I feel like before the fight, I won because there wasn't enough time for him to catch up skill-wise. But as far as in the fight, I think that once I started getting my kicks going and started finding my distance, there was just no way that he was going to be able to get to me in the fight. And you know, I kind of did play it safe a little bit because I knew that the only way he was going to be able to win was if I let up focus and I didn't play it safe. So after I had a good first round, I kind of just kept my distance, still scored points with kicks and stuff. So yeah, but I think just as soon as I found my distance, I think I won the fight.
Yeah, for me, it was realizing that you use your kicks to great distance, like to make sure you were out of range. Then, as I saw you comfortably in the rest of the rounds, I was just like, yo, the way that you were connecting, it made people remember the kind of striker you are. And I think what's nice is we talk about Leno's power. I think what was great about that fight was seeing the way you were connecting and how you were hitting him. I was like, we have to remember to put respect on your power as well, because you don't come out as flashy like, I need one punch. It was no. We're going to make this a system.
Yeah.
And the way that I felt your movement complemented your strikes, that not only, I know you're talking about it in the way where you're like, I played it safe. To me, I was like, no, you're playing it smart.
Yeah.
Because when I saw that like manifesting and how you were doing it, I don't think there's a way to really play it safe when the opposite side of that coin is getting injured in a very bad way.
Yeah.
So it's like, to me, you're playing it smart. You played it smart. You used your efficient movement. You were gliding in that ring or in that cage. And I was just like, yo, this is a great performance. Like midway through, to me, I think I stopped commentating the technique and more so appreciating what I was seeing, and more like, I see where he's at. He's in a place where we're seeing how effortless he can make this look when he's dialed in like that.
Yeah.
And I just thought like that was a cool moment to be able to share on the microphone of watching one of your performances.
Yeah. And I'd say this is probably like my favorite fight of my own so far, because this is the closest that I've gotten to showing who I am, like in the training room. It's always, you always hear fighters say like, yeah, I'm good out here, but I'm better even in the training room. So I think this is the closest version you've gotten to see of me, of what I am in the training room. So I think that, just like I said, just reps, experience, I get closer to that every time. And I forgot what the question was, sorry, but I think, yeah, I was excited to be able to put on like a good striking performance, because a lot of my wins have been by submission.
Yeah.
So to get one just clean on the feet, we didn't even touch the ground at all. So I was just happy to get 3 rounds of good striking in the cage against a very tough opponent. A lot of guys probably would have been finished in the first round, but Eleno was tough as hell. So I'm happy that, he was my opponent for this one, to just be able to showcase everything that I had.
We talked about this off air as well, but Leno came to roll with me the week of I'm interviewing you, which is, by the way, didn't set that up. But it is very funny because I got the first chance to roll with him. So we did an interview. We didn't get to roll that day. And he made it out his way there. And I was like, yo, even rolling with this guy, like, it was a lot. And he was telling me, he did this with me where he was telling me how he's like, oh man, I like rolling like this or doing this. And then at one point he was trying to tell me, he's like, man, he did this flying attack on me, right? So he was like a flying Kimura grab. And he told me, he was like, oh dude, he goes, I was just able to counter that one. And I was like, what do you mean you countered that? And he goes, yeah, I just countered that. I was like, what movement do you think this old ass man did that created that? Yeah. You did that. And he's like, no, you were moving. And I go, young son, I promise you, as fast as I can move, it would not generate that much power to make you do that. And it was like, we were having this argument, but it was telling me, I felt like that flying movement he did with me and just rolling with him, I was like, yo, it's like I got striked. Yeah. And I was like, this dude's got power. And to me, it was just like a preview, because it's not less like us standing and banging. It was just me being like, no, he's a strong kid. Yeah. And you take that into a form where I'm like, all right, now imagine getting punched.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Good power to him. So I look forward to seeing him come back. I think he's always in contention for something. And like you mentioned, I think it's really cool that you make this note, which is you had your eyes on him, as I'm sure everybody does in their certain weight classes. And I'm sure even back then you're like, that might be a good fight. And guess what? It was. Yeah. So kudos to you. Hats off. I would love to now go back into origin story of getting to know you, where like martial arts found its way in your life. So where does martial arts find its way into your life?
Yeah. So my godfather, he was always very close to me growing up, and he was big into like even the old school fighting, like Pride and all those stuff. And he always had the fights on. So I would always be at his house every weekend and just be watching the fights. And every once in a while, he'd show me like an arm bar or like a rear naked choke or something, because he trained himself. And I think I was in second grade maybe, or something like that. I believe 7 years old. And he picked me up from school one day and he's like, hey, come, we're going to go train. Like, I've been showing you arm bars and chokes and stuff. We're going to go to an actual gym and train. I'm like, oh, cool. So he brought me to a gym after he picked me up from school that day. And I think our first session was like a jiu-jitsu session. And I fell in love right away, like just immediately loved it. And this is the first sport I've ever done as a kid. I did a little bit of like karate or taekwondo before that, but I never was into like football or baseball or anything. So introduced me to that. And he told my mom, oh, I brought Christian to a wrestling gym. And she didn't know I was doing like full on MMA. She was like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, go ahead, take him and stuff. And then I think she found out maybe like a month or two after that I was doing full like MMA at this point for like a month now. And she was like, what the hell? Like, what, are you serious? And then after she kind of got like a better idea of what it was, she was very supportive. So yeah, so since I was like 6 or 7, after he took me to the gym, I just stuck with that. I was at the same gym from 6 or 7 all the way until I was 18. So I was over at Ken Rose MMA and Muay Thai in Newbury Park, which is like a minute away from my house. So it was perfect for me, and stuck with it. Never did any other sport. And I just, fell in love from pretty much the first session.
God, you're one of those first generation kids that just got to do this.
Yeah.
Because most other people, a lot of us old heads, were doing other sports.
Yeah.
And I always like to try and go back in time and think, would I have taken to this or would I have done this? And it's not like karate or taekwondo didn't exist when I was growing up, but the option for mixed martial arts was way less.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued whenever I see these people who go, oh, I bypassed all that. I knew it. I found it. I had it. Why? Why did this speak to you at such a young age?
It's a good question. I think it's just because, like I said, I was around my my godparents all the time. They took care of me a lot because my mom was in school, and I just, they're a good big family. So I think just being around them and him loving the sport so much, and he still loves it. He still watches the fights every weekend and everything. So just rubbed off on me. And maybe I was we always beat each other up. I have a lot of cousins and stuff, and we always beat each other up. And I was always like the runt of the group, like, damn, like, because I was the smallest one. So they're always beating me up. And I'm like, you know what? One day I'm going to whoop your ass. And I was like 8 years old. And I'm like, so I just kept training. I was consistently training, but I was still getting my ass whooped by these guys who were like bigger than me, my cousins and stuff, who were bigger than me and didn't really train. But eventually, as time went on, eventually started getting a little bit more competitive with them. And yeah, but I think just being around people who love the sport, just naturally rubbed off on me. And that's kind of how I got introduced to it and fell in love with the sport as well.
What has that transition been like for your uncle now that you have become this fighter?
Yeah.
Like, what has it been like for him? Because any one of us who are fans of the sport, we love it more than other sports for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like, there's something we connect to with it where we go, I don't know, maybe I like fighting, maybe I love the skill of it. But when you have a nephew or a family member who's doing it, to be able to have that bond is way more unique than I think being like, hey, I'm going to toss a football with you. Yeah. There's a connection there. So what has it been like for him to watch you kind of grow into your own as a fighter?
Yeah, so I feel like he is probably one of my only family members that doesn't really get nervous before my fights. And because we used to train together all the time. We always used to spar and beat each other up. So he knows like that I'm skilled and that I'm good, and I'm almost like his little protege, And I feel like, he doesn't really get nervous or at least show it before fights. He gets really excited, and he's like a big fan. It's cool to see, his godson just like on a stage where like we used to watch these fights together. Sometimes it would be just me and him watching like full cards from like the prelims all the way to the main event together. So it's cool just to see me on that same path, and I think he really enjoys it. He likes watching all the fights. He'll stay from like the first fight all the way till like the last post-lim. He's just a huge fan of the sport. He'll be like, this one guy did this in this fight, and like this guy was winning the fight, and then he got caught and guillotined, and he was like, he's a nerd about the sport. This is all he wants. He doesn't like football. I've recently gone into like football and stuff recently, but he only watches MMA. So yeah, he's just a mega fan of the sport, and it's just cool for him to probably see me in there, starting to get to a little bit of a higher level in the sport as well.
I think I can also speak on this just as, again, the old head here. Maybe your godfather, maybe coming from a place where we didn't have this as big of a sport.
Yeah.
So to us, we're so protective of it because I've seen my friends love the NBA, love NFL because they're these giant things.
Yeah.
I can remember watching Pride and staying up till all hours of the night. Mm-hmm. And there was almost like this little secret society of us who, when they're like, yo, it's New Year's Eve, and people are like, what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm watching the fights.
Yeah.
And they're like, yo, do you want to come over? And I was like, yeah, I do. And one of my good friends, his brother-in-law, he's like this massive director now, like amazing dude. I just remember being like, we were going over for, I say, Christmas or something, and like hanging out and checking out. And he was talking to me. He's like, yeah. So you need these fights and blah, blah. I don't know. Do you watch them? I was like, yeah. And he's like, bro, do you want to come over to the house? I was like, oh my God, can I?
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome. And to this day, he's always like, hey, bro, I want to let you know I got back to training. And I was like, thank God, bro. Anytime you want to come roll, he's like, I'm afraid of you. And I was like, why are you afraid of me? You're better at this than I am. I just like the fact that there's this bond between a lot of us who didn't have this for so long. And now there's a generation coming up where this is kind of what you know. Like it's normalized. ESPN's behind it. So I'm pretty sure when you're talking about your uncle being like, he didn't have those other sports or he doesn't care as much, it's just because even from my own personal belief, it took me a while to be like, okay, now I can like football a little bit. Now I can like these other sports just because we spent so long trying to get it to be on the same level. And now that it's here, you're 100%. Kind of like, oh, thank God. Okay, cool. So I think that's very cool that you guys have that unique bond. And I think it's actually really cool because you have another advocate in the family so that if your family ever gets nervous for you, you have a guy who can always be there and like fighting those fights behind the scenes to be like, he's fine.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
Absolutely.
Even though your family, they're going to see your skill, there's always that nervousness because you're mijo. So they're going to be like, no, I don't want anything bad to happen to you. And it's like, well, the unfortunate side about that is I got to beat the shit out of somebody. So something unfortunate is going to happen to somebody else.
Their family is saying the same thing on the other side.
Absolutely. You know? So one of the things I like to ask people whenever we talk about their martial arts and their come up, there's always a moment when you love this sport or you find that you have a true passion for this sport that is more than just being a hobbyist or more than just training on the side. When did this become something that became something you loved and that you had to do?
I think almost immediately because, like I said, I didn't have that connection with any other sports. So whenever I found this passion for, a sport, something that I could do after school and not have to like worry about homework or something, I just fell in love immediately. So like after practice, I remember just going home and like, I always used to ask for every Christmas, I would ask for they would sell like a replica of the UFC championship belt on the UFC store. And every Christmas, I would ask, Mom, please get me a replica of the championship belt. And it was expensive. It was like $700, something like that, $1,000. And I never got it. But I always I wanted to like picture myself with the belt. I would always like be in my room playing and I would be like visualizing me winning like the UFC belt as a small child, So I always wanted that. And, now I think of it as like, she didn't get me it because I'm going to win my own. So... But yeah, I fell in love at a young age and I knew I wanted to do this at a young age. On my 5th grade yearbook, they have like a little picture where you put a baby picture and what you want to do as a kid because you're transitioning into junior high at that point. So on mine, it had a baby picture of me and it said, I want to be a UFC fighter as a 5th grader. That was my little quote that I wanted or like what I wanted to do when I grew up. So, yeah, that was mine. So from a young age, I knew that that's what I wanted to do.
So I'm glad that you've come to that sort of realization as a pro wrestling fan. Little known fact. When you go to these live events, people wear these replica belts.
Yeah.
Like they put them on their shoulder. Their chest gets all brought out. And I always think to myself, like, one, I know you paid a shit ton of money for that. 2, you should have to defend that at all times. Like, I literally feel like when I see that, I go, they puff out the chest like they won it from somebody. And I'm always like, yo, you bought that at Kmart. Like, you don't get to wear that. So I'm glad that she didn't buy that for you because my next question was going to be like, yo, do you have one? Because if we roll, we're rolling for that.
Yeah.
Number 2, I just think to myself, like, I think that's a good mentality because now you do have belts and now you have these things. So what has your mom said? Like, have you told her that? Have you been like, yo, I finally got this. You didn't buy me one, but I did get one.
No, so I'm sure she probably has a different perspective of it in her head. She's probably just being like, it's too expensive and probably forgot about it. But for me, that shit stuck with me. Like, I wanted that every single Christmas. I asked for the same thing and never got it. But yes, she probably forgot about it. But you know what? I'm going to bring that up to her today and be like, Mom, the belt that I always ask for and didn't get every Christmas, you know, I won my own, and eventually it is going to be that UFC one that I wanted so badly.
There's a part of me that really hopes your mom's like, that's nice. I'm glad.
Yeah.
And then I don't know about this, but we used to do a segment on the show, which was we used to check how much they were selling the BMF replica title for.
Yeah.
And I was like, first of all, if you're going to get a title, don't get the BMF title. Yeah. Like, nobody should think of themselves as a silver medalist.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is so dumb that they did this belt. And my co-host would sometimes just surprise me. Like, we'd be in the middle of an episode.
Yeah.
Which is normal talking, like, oh, the fights were good this weekend, blah, blah. He's like, oh, Raph, I have an announcement. I was like, what's up? And he goes, like, breaking news kind of a thing. And I go, did something just drop? Like, what's up? And he goes, I just want to let you know the replica belt is still $850. And I'm like, who would pay for that?
Yeah.
Lo and behold, there's young you being like, I'll take one.
Yeah.
And your mom very rightfully being like, under no circumstances.
Hell no. Yeah.
Could you have settled, though, for one of the, like, because they have those like $10 ones or those $20 ones.
I 100% had one of those.
Oh, you had one of those?
Yeah.
All right. So when we roll, that's what we're
did not satisfy though. Did not scratch the itch.
Wow. This is okay. This is how you know this dude is he's belt bougie, if you would. He's just like, I don't like the trim on this. This feels like plastic.
I was like, I knew the pounds of the belt. I knew that the belt was 12 pounds. I knew it was big, and I'm like, you know what? I want the real one.
You know what? Listen, man, good on you. You some people collect Jordans. You're collecting belts, and you know the differences between them. Man, okay, that's really good to know. All right, you need to go find one of those belts now. Let's do this, sir. So we're gonna start circling third here. We're gonna get our way over to the end, but what does the rest of 2024 hold for you? Like, what is the next steps? Because one of the things I was thinking of when I was watching that fight is Sparstar is the amateur event kind of series. And I started legitimately thinking, I was like, I don't know how many more I get to commentate on you. I think it might be sooner than later we see you go pro. And so there was a part of me that wonders, what is the trajectory? What is the next set of steps for you?
Yeah. So I actually lost 2 title fights before this. Not like back to back, but just like when I got the chance to fight for a belt, I lost them. And I think those were blessing in disguises, because I think in the past, if I would have won those fights, I probably would have gone pro right after, and I probably would not have been ready. And I think I'm starting to get to the point where I'm probably ready to go pro soon, but I do want to take the rest of this year to just build as much experience as possible and get maybe 3 more amateur fights.
Okay.
Just because like I've seen people rush, and you see people get there too early, and it like if you get there too early, there's no going back. You know, you can't erase your pro record. Like the amateur record will go away once I go pro, but I cannot erase the pro record. So I want to be 100% ready once I'm ready to make that switch to going pro. So just building experience up this year. The rest of 2024, I want to do some more jiu-jitsu tournaments. I want to do some kickboxing. I want to do a few more MMA fights and just build up that experience so that when I go pro, I'm 100% ready. And I think that I'm at a good age right now where I'm not too old and I'm not too young, right? So I'm 22, maybe pro when I'm like 23-ish. And then, yeah, I think that's probably the plan for the rest of the year. And I don't turn 23 till the end of the year anyways. So, yeah, just build experience this year is the plan.
Good man. And you know what's funny is that you look at your record, and your record is maybe a couple years ahead of what your age should probably be.
Yeah.
So the fact that you started so young gives you this great advantage and this ability to really maximize your time in the Amis. And then really when you make your debut, you'll have that, what you've already manifested as this great dialed in persona or this dialed in fighter that you are when you're in the cage. I think it just gives it more experience. So that way, when we see you on the big stage, it's just kind of like, yep, he's fully prepared.
Yeah.
So good on you, man.
And thank God for Sparstar, because they run their show like a pro event, like they run a very good show, and it feels big. The events feel big, and it's like not like some of these other amateur shows where maybe it's like in like a gym or it's like in a smaller show. Like if the events feel big. So I think they've prepped me well for the next step.
It helps you to understand and measure the pressure.
Yeah.
Because, I don't think we have a dissimilar size of people watching us than the Apex Center would.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, and those crowds are wild that we have at Sparstar.
Oh,
when that crowd is really into a fight, they let you know it. And, there have been moments where even just on the commentary team, I'm like, I can barely hear it. I have headphones on. So, yeah, I think you are astute on that. Well, sir, I want to tell you this. It has been very fun to watch your fights from afar. Been a big fan. I've been very appreciative of you coming through to do this. Normally when we finish these interviews, what I do is I look over to this camera and I tell people where they can find you. Like maybe if they want to get privates, or they're looking to train with you, or they're looking to either kind of come to the organization or the Black House training that you guys have. So let the people know, and feel free to shout out any teammates or sponsors who helped you put on the performance that was so great a couple weeks ago, sir.
Yeah. So you could find me on Instagram, Christian_Dighero, Dighero. I'm going to start doing some private lessons. So if you want to come train with me, either in the TO area or in the LA area, because I also train in Gardena at Black House. So you could find me there. Shout out to my sponsors, Athletic CBD. Shout out to Morning Combat for, pushing me out there, getting me some more recognition, and for just the entertainment over the years. And Gen X for doing my shorts. EV Blends for hooking me up with the haircuts, and just all my training partners over at Black House, Gracie Bar Tarzana, Katie MMA helped me out a lot this camp as well. So many training partners that I can't even name, but yeah, just all my coaches, training partners, and it's a team effort to get me into the cage. And it's looked at like individual sports, but it's a team effort to get the right preparation. So just thank you to everyone, and appreciate you for having me on too.
I was about to say, I was like, the nerve of this young man shouting out Mortal Kombat here. How dare you? No, obviously good stuff. And what's great is the fact that you do live in this community. We were not able to train today, but we will set up a time in the future. So we will definitely make that happen. And you need to go find that $20 belt you've got, and that's going to be on the line. That's what's good. Oh, that's
still.
And still, nah, it's not going to happen, bro. I already know. And still fake champion is, by the way, the best thing. I'm going to be like, yo, you know what's so funny? I want to create this tournament series where I don't know how to fully pitch this yet, but what I want to do is how do I say this? All medals matter, but some medals matter less. Mm-hmm. So what I want to be able to do is for people who have gotten like those podium pictures where they're second or third place, have them be able to challenge like the person who won those tournaments at like a local tournament to be able to be like, yo, I really want that first place, bro. Yeah. And like set it up like that so that it's kind of one of those things where people can go like, yeah, you got like an advantage, bro. But I want you to put that medal on the line. Because once I see like those medals happen, I'm like, dude, that thing like is worth 10 cents.
Exactly.
But it mattered to somebody for one day.
It means more.
It means more. So I was just like, oh, I think there's something there, but I haven't quite figured out the pitch of that. The closest we've come is whenever we do like these little fun videos for WWE BJJ, they're like these pro wrestling, jiu-jitsu hybrids. But the weird thing about it is we get a belt and we give one away to like a fan or something. So we create a storyline with the belt. Without fail, every athlete involved is like, so do I become champion? And I'm like, even scripted, they want to still hold the belt. They're like, no, so where do I win? And I'm like, we've taught people so young already to know, like, hey,
there's meaning to it.
There's always meaning to it. And I'm always telling people, I'm like, this is just for fun. They're like, no, it means something. I was like, God damn it. All right. Well, sir, we'll put a pin on this conversation. And then just to let you guys know, if you are a premium user, you're about to see us talk about his fight in detail. So go ahead and do that. But Sir,
Thank
I
you very
appreciate
much.
you very
Thank you for
much.
having me.
Hey, you're great. It's really good to be able to talk to you and get to know you better. So I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you back in the cage soon.
Thank you very much.
All right, for the rest of you guys, check this out. Last couple reminders. First and foremost, like this shirt. Look at this. Go get this merch. Grappling Hour, baby. Not Mortal Kombat. Grappling Hour. No, you don't say anything bad about it. We're making the switch. I was like, oh God, I'm gonna get a text from Luke Thomas being like, hey bro, that wasn't cool. You know what? Instead of that, Luke Thomas is just going to do a 10-minute video being like, I was watching this weekend. There was a really crazy video from this other podcast. I have no fun in my voice, so I'm going to talk about IPAs. It's all good. I'm never going to blink, but I'm just going to stare like this for 10 minutes. Maybe make one good point. Maybe two. We'll see. Anyway, that's my Luke Thomas impression.
That's perfect.
Thank you. So, hey, go support the brand, rafasparza.com/merch. If you guys want to get a hoodie as well, that is on there. $25 for the t-shirts. Hoodies are $45. They're very, very comfortable. And if you want to buy the combo of them, $60 savings. Just remember that. All right, check that out. You can also go on over to patreon.com/grappling hour. Become one of those people who sees these interviews 30 days before everybody else. Because guess what? Those people are trash. No, that's not true. You guys who watch us on the regular free, we love you. But you guys who pay, you mean more to me. I do more stuff for you guys. I laugh at more of your jokes. That's a real thing. If you send me something like a meme on Instagram and you are not a follower on the Patreon, I don't laugh as hard. I just go like, okay, heart. If you pay, I'm like, that's great. You guys are the best. So go on there. And if you want to check that segment where we do a tape study with Christian, we're going to do that right now. And you can see people roast my competition footage and mini-sodes that are like little extra episodes that we do with topics that you can pitch to me. So that is on the Patreon, on the premium experience. Last couple of reminders, like, comment, and subscribe. And since you made it this way, tell me the nerdiest thing you do about training. We just talked about how we nerd out over our stats. And guess what? We are those guys. But I want to know, what is the nerdiest thing that you do? So tell me that in the comment section. And last, not least, check us out on the Discord if you want to continue the conversations that we have here on the show. That's going to do it for us here at the Grappling Hour. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you guys. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.